Oh, you want to talk about aliens?
We can go everywhere, honestly.
Shane, I was not prepared for aliens. We've got to get it out of the way up top. It was so hot. Watching you eviscerate Ben Shapiro. And the way you just grabbed that chair and just fucking saddled it, I was like, this dude is so hot. And this is buck wild. How did,
it was a divine moment.
Did a portal open? Because you were so clear.
It felt like something was being channeled through me to a degree. Like I almost don't fully feel responsible for what happened because that was a pure consciousness moment. Like a lot of people think it was a rehearsed thing. First of all, I didn't even know Ben Shapiro was going to be there. We actually found out who it was 2 minutes before the cameras were turned on. I was like, oh, it's this guy? And I lost my shit. I was like, it's this fucking guy, the guy who has said, I don't know how many years and years and years of like part of the whole right-wing red pill bullshit, like funnel to make these young men to hate trans people for some godforsaken reason and using white supremacy and their platform to do that. And I just was like sitting there. And the funny thing is they actually show me, I think, sooner than it was actually happening on set, because you know how editing works. It's like whatever works for their narrative. But I sat there. This kind of happened more towards the middle of the shooting because I was watching him like interact with everybody. And to me, it just felt like, you know, like those B-list actors that just don't get the commercials. Like they try so fucking hard.
I don't even think it's B, baby. I think it's C. We're on C. B-list is like actually getting work these days.
Like, but you know those people that are just like, I want to be in Hollywood so bad, but it's like, bro,
they're clawing at the hoof of the demon. And if you listen to my episode a week ago, we talk about demon possession. And those are the people that want the deal from the demon so badly. They're like clawing at the hoof.
You have to have a level of like just a natural, it doesn't even have to be that much, but you just got to have a little something. Like even Trisha Paytas finds her way in her niche to have like, listen, I know problematic, but she can still find her way in her niche to entertain folks. You know, there's always an angle, you know, but like with him, like even on set, he was just kept going like, hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. Like it was so rehearsed and I was like, oh my God. So like I knew what the gag was. And the whole time I'm sitting there kind of like trolling and I was like, this is the guy. I was like, God, you're so small. I thought you were going to be bigger in person. So they don't show any of that. So I'm trolling him like the whole time.
Oh, you're talking to him.
Oh, so like, yeah, because we're sitting in the circle and I'm just being a messy, petty ass person. Cause I was like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
A mesopotamus.
I'm going to take the golden ticket that Willy Wonka has given to me and I'm going to cash this in. Because I mean, Jubilee's problematic in its ways too. And the trans representation, I already knew the back and forth with him was not going to produce anything that I know how he works. Like there was not going to be a conversation. It's like talking to a wall. So after watching him engage with like multiple people on the set, I was just getting angry because some of the people were really scared to kind of confront him because it was a level of like power imbalance that was going on. I mean, he's like well-funded. Not only that, he had 2 bodyguards. Most people don't know this.
God.
He had 2 bodyguards and I'm bigger than both the bodyguards. That's the funny part too. So I'm literally doing this to him with 2 bodyguards there. So there's more layers to like how much I emasculated this man because he sat there and kind of curled in like a little kid that was being told. No. And that alone was like justice for not just trans people, but for women, but for anyone that he has been harmed by. Like it felt like every one of those people somehow like jumped into my body and was like screaming at me and saying like, say this, do this. And it was also like the combination of my activism throughout the years and all the stuff that I've done. It was such a serendipitous moment. And I knew just not to let him have the in because as soon as I did, that's where he was going to take the opportunity to do his little Ben Shapiro bullshit. And I just wanted to serve him what he's been serving in the kitchen and it got too hot. He couldn't handle it. And then on top of it, I found out that the Michael Knowles situation that also Jubilee just produced, he didn't have bodyguards. So I think it's really interesting that that Ben Shapiro bought 2 bodyguards. Like, so it's like, bro, like, if you're a manly ass man, I'm a trans person coming into a space that's kind of, you know, it's it can be a hostile production to a degree. I mean, they just said like the eradication of trans people
Yep.
in some of their prompts. And I know they can be problematic, but at the same time, for me, like why I go on there, I know I'm talking to the heart of the red pill audience and doing things in a different way and shifting it, knowing how the platform works and maneuvering it for my ability to show that trans people exist
Yeah.
to an audience that, quite frankly, like people like me are always siloed out of because they don't get access to trans people because we're usually in mostly progressive spaces.
Right.
Like I like dirt bikes, all the bullshit that men like to do. And quite frankly, like anything they can do, I can do better. And I know this. I am still competitive like a man. I've done all of those bullshit things. I grew up as a Californian, as a surfer, as a, I play 6 or 7 instruments. I did all of those like things in my life to create myself as a man that had habits that was like fun to do things, and also because it looked hot to girls. My wife, like I love to impress her, and I learned a bunch of things. I've been with her for 20 years. We've been married for 10, and it's like I like to play that role. Like I grew up definitely socialized as female, so like I also know like the ideology of what a lot of women are sold of like what a man is
Right.
and the expectations that are set. And it's actually fun for me to achieve those expectations. And they're really hard to achieve, especially in the economy that we're in and the world we're in. And as a trans guy, like for me, I've just been kind of having this wild, wild ride. And it really started way before Ben Shapiro. And it's weird for you to say that like I'm a celebrity because like I don't have that. I've always been trying to achieve like the normal guy thing, but at the same time, as a trans person, I know it's sensational. People, I know that it's educational. So I'm learning to play the role.
But you've been out in the public eye before. It's not like, and also I know you get down on the ones and the twos.
Oh wow, you really did research me. Okay.
Yeah, you're on my show. Can you imagine if I was like, so what
I
do you
know.
do for work? Welcome to Cool. I mean, people do that to me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do for work? I'm like, are we serious here? Like, just go on the Google. It's right there. But I just think that, well, it would be exhilarating, but also terrifying to be propelled into many different conversations on the internet the way that you did. I mean, my wife sent it to me. All good content on the internet usually comes from Rachel. And she sent it to me. She's like, dude, you've got to see this guy just fucking handling Ben Shapiro. I'm like, okay. So I'm like in bed scrolling. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then that weekend, I think, is when it sort of like picked up for real.
It went nuts.
But I reposted it on my page, and Cool, and Liz Cully, we are I have many trans brothers and sisters, and I love having them on my show. I have a very interesting audience. It's queer, but it's also primarily straight, white, cis women.
Perfect.
And
it's
so
an audience that I don't even typically reach too. You know, it's a great audience.
I don't know how, because you were just fucking really handling Ben Shapiro. I don't know. That was like,
but guys like me don't really get that opportunity
exactly,
too.
which
You know
is
what
why
I mean? Like they don't even know guys like me exist, and that's the thing that even I'm kind of fighting, and sometimes why I still go to Jubilee, even though it's problematic because it does platform me. When like some of the Democratic stuff, they're expecting this like morally superior, perfect person to represent them, and I like to say fuck. I'm sorry, like I'm not this perfectly groomed. I still consider myself very blue collar. I mean, I still work a regular job that is actually in a warehouse loading trucks off a 13-panel truck. So it's a very masculine job too. And I'm fighting with podcasters who, you know, get paid to tell their feelings to a camera. So it's fun because like for me,
this is just a recreational job for me. I have a real job too. I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, and it's fun to do this stuff for me. Like it's my new style of activism because I've been doing the on the street stuff for years and years and years. Like,
but it's exhausting.
Yeah, I got to be real. Like it's exhausting. I also want to pass the torch on to other younger generational folks because like I don't even know everything, and I don't even know exactly where the younger generation wants to go. And I think it's important for us to pass the torch when it's still lit and still like a feasible torch for them to be able to benefit from too, not just suck it dry so I get everything out of it and then here's nothing. Like I want to be able to create something, especially for trans people and trans men, look at and be like, hey, I can do that, or I can do this, and holy shit, and build off of it and go further than I even can go. So
Yeah. So it's interesting because you talk about like, these are the things that I really saw as being masculine. Like, do you see, whether it's which dirt bikes are dangerous?
I
You need to
honestly,
not be on a dirt bike. Like, I'm so sorry. Like,
I mean, my wife won't let me own
Auntie
it. I
Liz
will
here,
tell you,
you
she
are
won't let
not.
me own it because she doesn't want me to get hurt because she
Yeah,
knows
okay,
how
well,
I
your
am.
wife is smart. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like listening.
But
You're
I
like,
enjoy
I like
that.
trucks. I like smashing beer.
Monster truck rallies. I love
Of course
that
you
shit.
do. Of course you do.
Like,
But do you see in these spaces like any problematic
oh my God.
moments? Because it's so interesting because you're like, yeah, like do all these things and I want to impress my wife with, these sort of historically male activities or achievements. But like, is there any?
Are you kidding me? Like, yes. Like every turn I
You're the
get.
problem. It's you.
Pretty much, like, and the thing that like can even happen is where I get into spaces where it's hyper masculine and I'm, I do have passing privilege. So guys,
You definitely have passing
when they look
privilege.
at me, they're
Yeah.
not going like, oh, that's a trans person. That's another dude. And then you hear them say something and you're like, oh, I'm not in a safe space right now. And if you knew who I was, holy fuck. So I tend to navigate those spaces quite often, especially because guys see me and they're like, especially like as a white guy too, they're like, they say some of the most problematic shit to me, and it's almost like, God, if you only fucking knew. But I can't always out myself in those spaces because cis men can be extremely violent. So I have to
100%,
navigate that. But at the same time, sometimes when I'm in those toxic spaces, especially how men work, I don't always need to out myself. Sometimes I play their like competitive toxic masculinity thing, and then like I kick their ass at something, and then I kind of out myself, and then they can respect that more because men kind of value that like meritocracy bullshit, that it's because they love hierarchy because they keep calling themselves leaders, but they're always looking for somebody else to call daddy. There's so much for that. But like,
did Ben Shapiro say thank you for fucking whooping his ass on camera?
I know that he has nightmares about me.
And
he must.
You spanked him to death. I mean, I was just like, did you talk to him at all after it? Was it like, cut? Oh, fuck.
And then I continued to troll him while I was sitting in the circle. I called him a fag. Like they didn't.
Did?
Oh yeah. I was like, God, he's acting like such a fag. I mean, honestly, like.
And he did nothing.
He couldn't. He just sat there and took it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think he agreed to do that?
I still, again, have my questions about Jubiliee and their motivation sometimes, because it feels like they get a lot of like PragerU folks and a lot of right-wing folks that they have access to, like an unlimited amount of folks that are like trained in media to like battle folks. Meanwhile, like a lot of the folks when I'm on set, like they're like, oh, this is my first time debating. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like we're about to fucking be fucked.
No, because that's what
yeah.
That's what I meant when I was like, did the skies open? And like, you were so clear. I didn't know who you were. I watched the video. I did my online research because I also am a sleuth, as many people are these days. But I'm like, okay, you've definitely, West Hollywood, done a lot in terms of like the community, etc.
I changed the state law, actually. Like,
please tell us right now.
Well, I mean, it's a really messed up story, and it's kind of deep to get into, and I don't want to get into the sad stuff too much because I love to be celebratory right now, and I want to stay in that. But I will get you into how we did it. Was I experienced an essay incident in West Hollywood, and it really went really bad for me. Luckily, because I was on the board with the city at the time, working as an appointee as a mayor and city council, advising the city on how, politics and stuff should work for especially trans people in the city. I did have privilege to bring what happened to me to light to council in a way that so many other people were not able to bring to light, because that area has had issues from, allegedly, and I'm going to say allegedly so nobody gets sued, all the way back until about 20 years ago, where there's just been like this drink spiking situation.
It happened to me. Here Lounge. Christmas Eve.
So, yeah.
2013.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know that they like to sue, so that's why we say allegedly as much as
Well,
we,
it didn't. I guess it allegedly
I know.
happened to me, but
I know. I
well,
was
and
always advised to say allegedly just because they are so adamant about suing, but I also want to find a way to tell stories. And I even had to find like loopholes and ways to even get my story across. Like city council right now had to actually even write a rule for public meetings because I had 4 people sign up for public comment, and then they all donated their time for me so I could actually have like 8 minutes to speak instead of just 2 minutes. Like I
that's cool.
found that loophole, but then they wrote that like, now you can't do that. You can't share your time. But at the same time, it's like finding those ways to stand up for people has always kind of been my thing.
So you used your
My access.
connections and access with West Hollywood to impact law in local in West Hollywood or statewide?
Both. So
Okay.
what basically happened was, I brought everything to light, so much so that we had the sheriff's department involved. I mean, you can actually watch some of the stuff on my TikTok as you have Zoom videos of the sheriff's department basically admitting that they failed me on my case. I walked into the police station and I tried to make a rape case report, and they denied me access to make the rape case report, even though I just came from the hospital and I'm still bleeding at the time. The hospital also failed me. They didn't do a good job. And there's this horrible feeling of being a trans person and waking up, with no clothes on when, at a hospital, and they're
Of
not even
course.
willing to do a rape, treatment. They're just treating it like a drunk tank situation and like slap you on the back and get out. So as I brought all of the things that were happening to me to light directly to council, and I presented it in a way where I had, statistical data. I was looking at the reports that the police was actually like, I went in and I also like had access to, because again, I worked with the city.
Yep.
And there was a lot of allies that were also helping me too. I mean, shout out to Jackie Steele. She was a big ally for me, working even with the DA directly, and getting a lot of the stuff handled that we needed to. And then the mayor at the time, which was Seppi Shine.
It was Seppi. I was going to ask if it was
Yeah.
Seppi. Yeah.
Was really supportive along with John Erickson to spearhead this. So we actually created the legislation for the bars all to
Test
have
strips.
the test strips. So what ended up happening is it became so successful that other folks heard about it, and then we pushed it upstate, and then state then pushed it now as of July 1st of 2024, I believe, or 2024. It kicked in, so now all bars have to offer those test strips or even drink covers, just some sort of accommodation, because it was happening so often. And it was an issue that it was so intersectional in the way that we stood up for folks. Because as I came forward as a trans person, it was a huge swath of gay men, actually, that like thanked me for that work because they were silenced. I mean, I don't know. Do you know about like the Ed Buck situation? So awesome. So like, there's so much history in West Hollywood of harm, but there's also history of like celebration. Because I still love the city of West Hollywood. I'm still appointed. I actually was moved up from the Transgender Advisory Council or Transgender Advisory Board to the LGBTQ Commission. So now I'm a commissioner.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
And I still stay in the work, even though like even the city was problematic at times when I was dealing with it.
Well, West Hollywood, especially because of the sheriff's department. I mean, I know Sheppy well because of my work with LPAC. We endorsed her, and she actually was the one to tell me all about this.
Oh, wow.
While it was happening. And I remember her talking to me about the issues with the sheriff's department, but also with Cedars, which is the hospital in West Hollywood, and how they handled victims and survivors. And like, it's a bummer because I, in my 20s, coming out as a queer person, spent a lot of time in West Hollywood and then just like never went back because I'm like, this place is grimy. I mean, now to this day, I went to the most famous West Hollywood bar. You guys can Google it. And they had like a relaunch opening, and I went and I'm like, yo, I'm not drinking a damn thing up in here.
You don't feel safe too?
Hell no. And everyone's like, what? I'm like, no, honey, I'm not drinking nothing. I don't trust the people behind the bar. I don't trust the people around the bar. I don't trust. And that's so sad because, now more than ever, we need our queer spaces
100%.
Because everything's under attack. And that has always really bummed me out about West Hollywood. And I lived in West Hollywood for 11 years,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
So I do love the free gay bus though.
The free
Gay
gay
trial,
bus.
that
Yeah.
free gay bus gets lit.
It's a nice little touch.
It's
The
a
city
nice
did a good thing on that. I'm also trying to get them to improve it as well and get it on an app so we can actually track it, so you actually know when they come to pick you up.
Well, it's
Because sometimes it drives past you and you're like, hey, yeah,
it skirts past you, and it would be me wasted, like, "Ah!" you know. And by the time I caught them, I was already home. But
yeah,
I mean, it is very brave. It's also very exhausting to
yeah.
advocate for other people while you're going through trauma.
hmm
So thank you. And, you know, you were very public with what had happened to you.
Yeah.
I know for me, it's interesting. People have asked me, like, you know, why do you so freely now talk about the essay that's happened to you? And I'm like, because for me, the more I talk about it, the more it like releases
Exactly.
the dirty, dirty stigma that I felt for so long, and the secrets, and, you know, and it's, if we don't talk about it, think bad things happen, right? Like, look at our government. It's like, they don't want us to read or write or talk to each other
or vote
you know? And
especially married women, if you don't have a passport right now, they're working on that whole legislation that, like, if it doesn't match your birth certificate, you won't be able to vote. Did you know that? Yeah, like, that's happening, I think, like yesterday.
Shane, I'm too tired for
I
this.
know, but I have to stay educated.
No, you have to say everything. That's why you're here. Oh my God. It's funny because I don't understand why trans folks have become so. I mean, I understand for me growing up, though, San Francisco kid, I was blessed to be around trans folks my whole life.
Yeah.
It is so frustrating. That's me. I understand, but it's so frustrating. It's so hurtful, and it's so painful that trans folks are being so viciously targeted by our government, when in fact, it's such a small portion of the human population. You know, it's like such a small portion of the population. That is why I personally try to have as many trans folks on the show as possible, to show how many backgrounds, stories, visibility, etc. I go back to you kind of having this overnight fame. What was it like meeting other trans? I can't imagine how many trans folks reached out to you.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because the messages that I received were a lot of hate messages, actually.
From trans people?
No, not from trans people, but I mean, just it flooded like my box. So, like, I didn't even fully open it because
I was worried that you wouldn't accept. Okay, so I reposted your video, and unfortunately, anytime I have, again, anything from serious to hilarious conversations with trans folks on my show, any clip is gonna go viral, one. And two, the hate comments are just like out of control. And I don't even know how we could be talking about
just existing
these fake, beautiful flowers from Michael's.
Shout out to Michael's.
Shout out to Michael's.
Sponsorship coming soon.
Sponsor my podcast. And somehow they will know. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? But the hate comments were out of control. I had to turn off the comments. I have since turned off the comments for cool because I just can't handle it anymore. Yeah. But I had followed you, DM'd you, and I was like, I'll never find this guy. I'm never going to be able to find him, because I can only imagine he's probably turned off commenting.
I did for just a period of time, because it was just overwhelming, because it's not something I'm used to have. The notification, my phone was just like, I was like, oh my God. I just needed, I felt like I couldn't even take a phone call or make a text message or just scroll on TikTok for myself.
You had a 2005, I watched, because again, I'm a psycho person. Are you seeing a theme? And you were 2000-ish.
Yeah.
And then it was just 16,000. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that's aggressive.
Well, TikTok actually was the more aggressive one. I mean, I had...
I can't. TikTok, I don't understand.
I love TikTok. Are you kidding me? TikTok is the reason why I'm on social media. No, and I'll tell you why.
This date was going so good.
I know.
This date was going really great.
I know, but I gotta tell you, the reason why I loved TikTok is because I grew up I don't know how much you know about me, but I grew up as, a Scientology kid. So I grew up like,
Oh boy.
yeah.
I don't know about this.
Oh, yeah. No, I
I
grew
mean,
up
are
as
we
a
going to talk
CC
about
kid.
are we going to talk about underwear and aliens? Magical underwear and aliens? Is that right? With Scientology?
Well, I mean, that's what I grew up as, right? I mean, that's in LA. That's what my family practiced.
Or your were your parents like actors or anything?
No, they just
Okay.
were really dedicated to Scientology and still are to this day. My whole family is.
Are you a Scientologist?
No, not at all. Not at all. I left at, I guess, 15, 16 years old and never really looked back.
Can I ask you a question I don't understand about
Sure.
Scientology?
Yeah.
Is the Sea Org people going and working on a yacht? What is the Sea Org? I don't get it. Are they on a boat?
So it's a giant
Ship.
like a Royal Caribbean style like ship, basically.
Oh, it is a ship.
Yeah, like it's a ship. Like they live on it. It's
Where is it?
I guess it's in Florida. Like
Of
again,
course it's in
I haven't
Florida.
been so looped in because I kind of tried to delete as much as possible from what I've seen. But I born and raised as a second gen Scientologist. Left at 15. But that also even shaped how I've moved because watching, like when people ask me questions about the Sea Org, I laugh at it because I'm like, oh my God, yeah, we're gonna talk about like the craziest parts of Scientology, of like the child labor and
crazy. I mean, I think the whole
it
thing
truly
is crazy.
No, it truly is. But
respectfully,
no, 100% respectfully. But like as I've gotten older, and I have such qualms with Scientology. Like I am like so not cool with a lot of the things that happen. But at the same time, like for my mom and dad, like my mom and dad were hippies, like huge hippies, and did hella drugs.
in Laurel Canyon.
No, in New York. So like they were like the 70s, like
a lot of hippies, Scientologists.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth Moss, who's from Laurel Canyon. Her parents, Scientologists.
Exactly. And the thing is,
Which
like
you would have to be on LSD to think any of that shit made any sense.
a little bit, truly. And like I used to have such a visceral, honestly, like hate for them still, even to this day, practicing the religion. But as I've gotten older, I've really taken a look at it, and like in some ways, I'm thankful for it because I don't know if my parents would have gotten their shit together because they used it in that way. So I try to be more respectful, even though I used to be so disrespectful, honestly, with it. And there's still so many reasons to be disrespectful
Shane,
with
you
it.
want to go on a cruise?
I don't.
I
don't. Trust.
I think you want to go on a Floridian cruise.
And I don't want to sound positive for Scientology either. It's more of like respect for my mom and dad's belief.
No, I think that's
sense.
very, listen,
You
as
know,
we
and
get
it took
older,
me so long,
yeah,
like 20 years literally, to even be saying this. And I know my mom stalks me on the internet too, and she's probably going to watch this as well because I don't really have a relationship with her, honestly. She still even misgenders me. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't have the
Shane,
supportive
sorry,
family
honey.
that everybody sees. And that's why, like, I've done the activism that I've done, because you've got now these young, like 20-something trans guys coming out, and their families like supporting them and stuff like that. And that's been so beautiful to watch that even happen, and know that some of the work that I've done is part of the reason why that even exists. Like, I know I'm not going to get the perfect life because of some of the cards that I've been dealt in life, but I want to try to do my best to make an impact so others that are dealt those cards don't deal with such like shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
We're going on so many tangents and I love it. I didn't even know where we were going.
I know. Nobody ever does. Hop on the cool train. You never know.
But just to tell you, okay, because you want to know this Sea Org thing, because everybody wants to know.
No,
that.
I actually don't. I really just wanted to know if there was an actual boat.
No, they're totally a boat, and they totally make people work and sign a billionaire contract.
Did you ever meet Tom Cruise?
So
everybody asks you that.
I was a CC kid, meaning I grew up running around the yards of Celebrity Center. So I can't say what I saw, but I saw people and I know things, and I grew up in that, and I left that because it's a really funny It's so weird. It actually relates to Titanic in some weird way because I saw it as a kid. No, I know. I have a direction there. You know when Jack goes downstairs, like they're all upstairs and they're like eating fucking caviar and it's like so fucking bleh. He goes downstairs and everybody's like dancing and having a good time. For me, like when I was in all that upper echelon money and bullshit, like everybody has this like upper crust, like white supremacy, like I'm better than thou shit. And for me, I always wanted to have a good time. I love music. I love interaction socially with people.
On the ones and twos.
Yeah, exactly. And
Wiki.
for some reason, the Titanic also kind of like was part of my awakening in some way, shape, or form. Also, like the scene in the car was kind of hot. You know what I mean? Like that was part of my queer awakening in some way, shape, or form. Because part of me wanted to be Jack. You know, like super romantic guy. And I totally would give her, my wife, the fucking door. You know, like although they both could have fit.
Oh, it wasn't a door.
Was it? It was
No,
a
there was a
headboard,
whole
right?
there was a whole thing with Kate Winslet recently, who's like my celebrity crush.
Really?
One of a few. I also told Jane Fonda last night I would leave my wife for her. Jane Fonda is so hot.
She
She's like
really
80
is.
years old. Talk about an activist. Holy God. She
Yeah.
is a real one. But yeah,
She
I was
kicks
like,
ass.
do you want to run away together? And she was like, what the fuck are you saying to me right now?
She's like, can we get security over
Yeah.
here?
She's like, Vice
Never
President of the
invited
Hollywood
back.
Reporter is getting weird. Yeah, okay, so they're all partying downstairs. You felt like I'm going on your ADD train here.
Yes.
You felt like the celebrity center was upstairs caviar and you wanted to go downstairs.
With the people, you know, like, cause I also went to public
with the
school.
Sea Org.
No, not with the Sea Org. No, it was, I wanted to be in public. I wanted to be like in spaces with people because it was such a silo. I mean, there's so much anti-queer rhetoric that went on, and there was like so much abuse that I dealt with, especially within my own personal family life. And Scientology was used as a weapon against me.
Yeah.
Constantly. I mean, you know, the greatest good for the greatest number, but when you're always a number that's, you know, subtracted, it's a really shitty reality for people that have that ideology and don't quite understand the empathy that you're always being subtracted out of that space. So there's so many layers to how Scientology did kind of shape me in some way, shape, or form. But I also don't want to accredit that to that because it's just a space that I got some of the knowledge, because Scientology for me was a bunch of different, like later on, I actually like went on this deep dive finally, because I used to be like adamantly belief in it because that's what I knew as a kid. Like that,
Sure.
we didn't know anything else. And then like, I finally got access to the internet, like 13, 14 years old. And I started to like Google things you're not allowed to Google. And like, I figured stuff out. And from there on, I was like, oh my God, this is something where like you've cultivated a bunch of different good parts of certain religions together, slapped it together on the lower level. So people fall for it. And then you go into this weird pyramid scheme shit. And it's like, it's a shit show, and it sucks because my parents are mentally kind of still in that space, but I also think that maybe it benefited them because maybe they wouldn't have gotten their shit together. I don't know. It's weird, complicated, nuance.
Organized religion is complicated.
Yeah. And
because it helps a lot of people find order, discipline, love. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like, be nice to other people. It's not a terrible foundation, right? So like to your point, you kind of fall for it. And then unfortunately, some people, like anything, use it to
exactly
control, promote white supremacy, control women.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's kind of dark.
Yeah.
So now that you're famous
and outed as an ex-Scientologist, ooh, that's gonna be fun for you.
Didn't see that coming.
I mean, I've been saying it slowly throughout the years because like it took me many years to even say it. Like there's people that knew me for 10 years and didn't even know. And then like just recently I've felt comfortable because of like all of the stuff that's happened. And because like before, if I was going to try to explain it to people, I sounded crazy.
No, I know.
Like
I've listened, I've tried. I've been like,
that's why I was like, I don't even want to try it. Yeah. Like, no, that's you.
Yeah.
Like Leah
100%.
did a good job. And like, you know, shout out to Leah. Like she she did a lot of good work and she took huge hits for it. And that always looks scary too. Like
She took huge hits.
there were times
Because you
where,
don't see Leah Remini out.
no, I had
ever.
white vans outside of my apartment when I first left and like had my own, oh yeah. Like, and then like, as I got a little bit of like activist fame and stuff like that, they stopped showing up at my house. Because
You being trans bother, is that fine? I don't know how that works. Like, are they chill?
the weirdest thing about this is like, that's why I was saying I give just like some parts of me to Scientology. And this is the part is, as I was growing up, what they teach you is like, you're a soul, you're a thetan, you're this, that, and the other. So like for me, it was really easy for me to understand I was trans through that. So that's where I give the credit to like understanding the influence there. The same thing happened to actually Kate Borstein, who was like on the ship with the dude and like she's written a whole book. I actually know her and met her in person. And like, it's really cool.
What
like,
ship? The ship?
The ship. Like she was one of the OGs like back in the day that was like part of it. And she's like the only other trans person I know that has a Scientology crossover Venn diagram.
Interesting.
But yeah, I met her and it's interesting because like some of their beliefs are very, like take responsibility, do this, do that. And like those things are like just basic virtues that any religion
most religion has lovely basic virtues.
Yeah.
And then it just goes.
Well, and the thing that I will say that's different when Scientology, for me, that just is my own personal opinion on that, is like I've also, I had an aunt when I was young take me to a Christian church. She married a black man, so it was a black Christian church too. Because she, I think, was trying to like instill.
Literally the only church I want anyone to take me
And
to.
I got to tell you, like that experience is also part of my like, it's Titanic, it's this experience too. Like she took me to a black church. She got my ears pierced, which my mom like wouldn't let me do. And she took me to church and like, there's a certain vibration that come from spiritual people or even non-spiritual people. Like even when I'm around like atheists in a protest, like there's a certain vibration that comes from humans. I've never felt that in a Scientology space. And that was, again, that whole like Titanic story is like that feeling of like that vibration of humanity. Like it vibrates at a certain level and it's beautiful. Like, again, I don't look at any practice religion. Like I can go into almost any religious space and sit in it and appreciate it because I think that there's beauty in all of them. But when it comes to like Scientology, I never felt like that vibrational thing. That I don't know if you know what I'm
exactly
talking
what
about.
you're talking
It's
about.
like you feel it and you're like,
yeah.
And like even if you're not Christian, you can go to a Christian church, or even if you're not, Hindu, you can go into that space and you can be like, there's something.
No, you feel it.
Yeah,
you
like
feel
it's
the
like
vibes.
it's like a ding or something. Like I don't know, it's like a noise too. Yeah.
It's also on mushrooms. I feel that way.
Yeah.
When I take mushrooms, like ding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all the colors are so pretty. Do you feel like
chicken tonight? Sorry. I can't. I'm so sorry.
I'm not
messy.
You are so silly over here. I did not expect that. I thought you were just going to come in here again.
No, are you kidding me? I knew what I was doing. Like, I'm also a theater kid. I like.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, like
the way you whipped that chair around in front of Ben Shapiro.
What's his name from Roseanne, the dad?
Oh yeah, Dan.
I was embodying him. Like, remember when he like sat down at the table and was like, that was like my moment there. And it's funny because a lot of people in the comments were like, "Wow, he's really giving Roseanne."
I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Like a 90s sitcom where it's like, you got to stop doing drugs. Like, that's how I felt like I needed to talk to Ben. Like, it's almost like a drug, the attention for him that he gets, not realizing like I said, like, don't you have a daughter? And I hope that impacted him in some way, shape, or form.
When you said that, I hope it does too.
It looked like it did.
It did for a slight
It looked like
second.
he was human for like 1 second.
Sort of. I mean,
I know. I was
that
like,
guy
holy
is
shit.
Real scary.
Yeah.
And it's so
He's from the streets of Burbank too. Did you watch like some of that?
I did.
Oh my God.
I sure did. That's the whole thing, right? Is through the last year, really, I had a longtime friend reach out to me just again, because I'm obviously out there with my politics and supporting all these different candidates. And, people love to tell me their opinion when I have not asked for it, especially white cis men.
Tell me
I'm
about
like,
it.
let's hear it. Okay. And he wrote me and he's like, Liz, it's just the trans stuff. I can't get over it. And I wrote him back and I'm like, why are you so obsessed with trans people? 1, 2, trans people have always existed.
They have.
3, I don't have a problem with you liking football. I don't want to watch football.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around football. I don't understand football. I don't understand the plays. I don't know how they memorize stuff. They say, oh, the plays, and then they play the play. How do you do that if you're playing a game?
I could totally explain it all to you, but I know you don't want to know.
Want to know, and I don't get it. Okay?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And for me, and we no longer speak.
Oh.
And now, listen,
Yeah.
Sarah McBride, who is my new friend, Sarah and I were chatting the other day. We were doing a big town hall together, and she is going through so much adversity on the Hill. And my God, I can't believe, I can believe because I've met her and she's so wonderful. Like, she's just so strong. And she said to me, she's like, Liz, we have to embrace non-perfect allies. We can't just stop talking to people. We have to have the conversation. You've got to. Like, if we just start cutting people off,
Yeah.
then it stops, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you really, for all of us, talking really to the devil. Ben Shapiro is like the devil.
It felt like I was talking to the entire party through him. Like, that's kind of how
You
it felt.
were.
Yeah.
Did you find that there was anyone at all that reached out to you that was like, you know what, Shane? I might not be all the way there, but you got me thinking. Please tell me one person reached out to you and said that.
I can tell you plenty of folks, and then I can even give you an example of yesterday, which was really interesting because I did another episode of Jubilee.
You need to stop doing that. I mean, now
I
listen
know.
to me. I'm
I
like,
know.
let's not cut people off. But I'm like, I don't know about this. Anyway, but
No,
yes,
and I
that's fine.
hear you on that. But what was interesting is it was the other side, was the non-progressive side, came over in their little red shirt and was like, I know we're not on the same team, but I'm a huge fan.
I love that. Yeah.
So, it's impacting folks. Another thing that was really beautiful, because, I love TikTok. I know you have your thing about it, but trust, it's because I hated Instagram because I'm not, the abs kind of guy. I don't do that stuff. TikTok was, I get to talk about my mind and be, appreciated for that. Holy shit, because for me, when I saw social media, I was like, oh God, you just have to be pretty or this, that, and the other. And I felt like those were not barriers that I gave a shit about because
I don't do well on Instagram or TikTok. No one on the internet is wanting Liz Kelly content. So now I just go bananas on TikTok. But I also was doing things where I told you earlier, I was talking about things without saying any words or not talking about anything specifically and seeing that the algorithm was picking it up and doing
100%. And especially after the reset, it's so different.
It's so different now, and I didn't like it. And then
Yeah.
also, all of a sudden, I got put into this lesbian TikTok with this lady that constantly just says, "Hey, pumpkin," and I'm like, why am I in this? Who is this person? Why? I don't want this. I don't want that lesbian TikTok. Where's the other lesbian TikTok? There's got to be a better lesbian TikTok. And I'm like, hey, pumpkin, what? Why are you fighting with Jenna Jameson? Why do I know that? Why does Jenna Jameson look like this now? What the fuck is going on? Why are you in Vegas? Why is there a UFC fighting component?
I love how far you've gone down the rabbit hole.
Because I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I want
know.
out, Shane. I want out. And now
I went down the Madeline Pendleton rabbit hole, that whole situation. Trust, I know.
I handed my phone to somebody who works at TikTok and said, make it start again. And they did something where they wiped my whole...
you can reset your feed.
Guess what? I'm back to pumpkin.
Okay,
now
that might be something you're doing because it is a For You page.
Oh, and I'm also in
So if you're ending up
surgery
If it's
do's
in
and
like some
don'ts.
shitty stuff and you like watch it for longer, that's how the algorithm starts programming again.
Okay, whatever. I need you to fix my TikTok. Anyway, so you love TikTok.
I do, because like I was even so like, there's the lives and stuff like that, and sometimes like I pop in there, and I used to go live like back when I had 10,000 followers because it wasn't so like intimidating, but now I have like 75, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of a lot. But sometimes I do it. And it was really cool because there was this non-binary individual that was on a panel, and they were like arguing about something about Trump, but then they saw my like username come up, and I like jumped in the comments and like just support, because I love to support small creators too, because like I still see myself as a small creator. Maybe it'll be big, but even if I am a big creator, I still enjoy small content. Like I think small creators are some of the biggest backbones of content. Anyways, let me not digress too much,
I'd like
but
to say that I'm one of those people. Thank you very much.
looking at that live, she was like, my dad was hardcore Republican, and you changed him. Like you actually changed his
Really?
opinion on trans people. And I was like I got off the live because I went on the live and said, hey, because I was like, holy shit, like I gotta acknowledge that and just thank them for that, and just say hey to their dad too, just to give them a shout out. Because yes, I will be that person. Like I will shake every person. Like if my fame gets to that level, I will sit there for 8 hours and shake every person.
Oh my
That's
God, are
willing
you
to
on Cameo? I
No,
feel
like
that's next
truly,
step.
I'm thinking about. I'm learning. I'm building. I'm getting there. But like I enjoy
You can make so much money, honestly, on
doing
Cameo.
that stuff.
I would pay you to like eviscerate somebody.
Oh, and that's another thing is people were like, I just want to pay you to travel around and just like
Yeah, go hard in the paint.
just go hard. Yeah, and I would love to do
That's
that.
a basketball reference. I think that just went over your head.
You,
I don't know if you know anything about sports, Shane, but
you're talking to a championship championship winner who was like, I don't know, like an 11. We won like second place for city of Los Angeles because I used
basketball.
I used to shoot from half court.
Also, did you know that the NBA
I'm telling you, I did all the male competitive stuff. I
it's
like
down
checked them off my
18% because
list.
of people like you, because 3-pointers is affecting betting, and now nobody wants to watch basketball. Are you guys impressed with how much sports?
Actually,
look
I am
at how butch I am.
butching it up.
You thought I
You're
was a
actually
Brentwood
helping
mom.
the mask, epidemic that's happening where the masks are disappearing.
Do you die? Oh my God. Shane, I could talk to your sweet baby ADD self for the rest of my life. I do really want to thank you so much for going to that Jubilee, even though I'm scared of those Jubilees for you and for me.
Yeah.
And just I'm really mean it. You just said what all of us have wanted to say for so long in such a clear, concise, direct way, which I think is where it gets really hard. That's what I mean. Like, I couldn't believe how just laser focused you were.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how the anxiety as well, and probably the
It
adrenaline rush.
wasn't actually. I didn't have.
Oh,
Like,
you went like.
it was
and just,
weird because normally I do, and that like it's something clicked in. Like
the aliens
it was the aliens. I mean, like
from the yacht.
I don't know what it was. Like it's something clicked in for me, and it felt so natural to say it to him. Considering like all of like I've done this for 15 years. I've fought in the streets. I've fought with so many things. I mean, like the DA that we have right now in Los Angeles, I'm a big reason he got elected. The sheriff, I'm a big reason he got elected. Like I can put my dick on the table and weigh it against other men's efforts in terms of change and stuff like that in a comfortable way. And it's like, it's been such a fun journey to do this and stand up to Ben Shapiro in that way. Like it's necessary, I think, because a lot of the times like the left always gets, labeled as soy boys, I guess is the whole weird thing. And for me, it's like,
Wait, what's a soy boy?
It's like this weird toxic thing that like the right guys.
Joseph.
Oh my God, we're ringing.
You better edit that out, Joseph.
Uh-oh.
You better timestamp that. What's a soy boy?
So a soy boy,
like SOYBOIE?
I honestly don't know exactly. I think it's like
soy, like edamame beans.
It's basically trying to insinuate that they're like weaker
Soft.
men, that they're soft, right? And to an extent, like media hasn't always done the best in terms of like representation. Because again, you haven't seen somebody like me, even though I've been in activism for years and years. Because like there's been this nuance in Hollywood of like, we want to have the conversations, but we also don't want a white guy representing it too. So like, my representation could have been confusing for some of the community members and intersectionality, especially in my community, because Black trans women really experience so much violence. And
Yeah.
it's important to really highlight that. But at the same time, I think where we can improve is like adding guys like myself and especially men of color into these spaces and these conversations, because it adds so much more of a dynamic to who we are. Because most of the like left-leaning guys I know are like blue-collared, like butch guys. You know, they're not like these ideas of like weak men. They're men that are like, they will do whatever it takes for their wife. They believe in abortion access, women's rights, bodily autonomy, but they're like masculine as hell. And I think there's a nuanced balance that's really missed in our society. And I hope that trans people, especially trans men, can kind of add to that conversation. Cause like, there's also the intersectionality of like, you know, for men's suicide rates between trans men and cis men, like it hits the community the same way. Like it's such a high thing. And this male loneliness epidemic, which I honestly, it's self-induced. We have to be real about that. But at the same time, there's not like positive role models for these guys to look up to. Like for me, I'm very traditional in some ways, shape or form, because I learned how to change a tire and do all of the things that you need to do in order to provide as a man. But at the same time, like understanding, like I have no need to control a woman's body. Like, even though I've been with my wife for 20 years, if for some reason I start fucking up and I'm not doing whatever our agreements are, she's fully allowed to leave. And I also have that same opportunity too. And it's like, I see her as an equal. And I think that the issue a lot of the times with like this gender shit is like, we keep trying to look at our differences instead of looking at our equal side of it. And then like existing as a trans guy, I mean, when you take testosterone and you can change your body in the ways that I have, it's like, holy shit, there is no fucking difference between us. It's just all this weird game that it's like we're focused on the 1%, the wrong 1%, as Laverne Cox said. It's like, you've got
the wrong 1%.
Billionaires who are fucking over the economy that, quite frankly, if a lot of these men were making more money and we weren't in the situation we were in, I think they'd be getting laid more because they'd get to go to the clubs. Like, they don't even know what millennial business casual, like what we used to do. Like, they don't even dance.
They don't know.
They don't even know. They don't even know boots with the fur. Like, they don't know that era.
Is it
like they didn't get that.
With a fur?
I thought it was boots
or is it
with
boots
the fur.
with the fur?
I always thought it was with the fur. I always imagined it as a cuff.
Same.
I always imagined it as a cuff.
But I just want you to think about that. Is it boots with the fur or boots with the fur?
Yeah.
Who will know? The great debate of the millennial generation.
But they don't get to experience any of that.
No, and young people aren't having any fun.
No, they don't even dance. They think everything's fucking cringe. And it's like, bro, live your life. If people hate you, so what? I mean, the way that I exist as a trans person, I'm actually 100% okay with people that are super red Trump supporters existing, as long as we can at least agree upon decorum when we're in society, that I have access to a passport, a driver's license, a job, food in the same way they do. If they don't want to respect my pronouns, fine. There's only so much that I can ask from people, but at the same time, it's not productive. It's not conducive to a society to have that animosity over pronouns when it's so easy to respect people. And it's like, I have no problem with them existing. And in my world, they exist, but in their world, I don't exist. And that's so crazy to me, because it's like, I have no hate for them. If they want to be a trad wife, traditional man, Christian life, I can see the beauty in that and let them enjoy their life. I just don't understand why you can't see that I want to also live my American dream and have access to that in the same way, that you do. It might not be everything the same that you believe in, but we have to coexist in society together and have that decorum.
I mean, yeah. Also, no dirt bikes. You're not allowed to have a dirt bike.
I want a dirt bike sponsorship.
No Ducati for you.
No, I want to do all that stuff. I even want to even Hassan is like problematic, but I would love to do a stream with him too and like do some bro shit. Like, I want to do it. You know, I know he's problematic, but again, like we've got to find a way to find our commonalities and fight like
Dirt
the
bikes.
fascists.
It's dirt bikes.
It might be.
It's dirt bikes.
It might be.
Honestly, I don't want to work.
Actually,
Like
this social media stuff is fun. Like, shout out to Michaela who said it's so hard. I don't know if you know that whole back.
I do.
Okay, good.
But like, I just,
yeah, like
I
this
don't
is
want to work.
fun. Yeah, I agree with you. I've worked way too hard. Like,
I've worked too hard. Shane, I cannot thank you enough for being here today.
thank you for having me. This has been such a pleasure to just go on a tangent every direction. I had no idea where I was going. I wasn't even prepared, but I love your content and who you've spoken to. And it's honestly an honor to be in the chair.
You hear that, Joseph?